India is flooded with degrees, right? Everyone has a degree, but nobody has a job. And yet we are talking about degrees.
Hello guys, we are here at the Mesa School of... Okay. That's a lot of people. I can't do this.
That 1 crore was almost like a, fallback option that I always had available with me. And wonderful. Are you ready to scrub the floor, or are you going to complain instead? If you look at AI, I was just reading this, that in the last week itself, AI has taken more than 2 lakh jobs away. That an MBA, is it going to prepare you to become an entrepreneur? Is it going to prepare you to be amongst the first 10 employees in a startup? My simple answer to that is an absolute no. Oracle can't fire 1 lakh people. I'll tell you what, Oracle could have fired 1 lakh people and their stock price would have only gone higher. You did not get IIM Blackies, so you settled for IIM Sambalpur.
Have you learned something about hiring over time? आप पहले कुछ और सोचते थे,
Yes.
then you learned something.
100%. That is so rare. If you end up finding 10 such people, you will build $1 billion company. My entire, fight and battle are with degrees that don't give you a brand. Another red flag is that person has never worked in a startup.
Okay, cut. It is so apparent to me that degrees are not the right thing to optimize for, right? And I think you know this because you interact with parents, students, etc. Why are people running behind degrees today?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's a long topic. But here's what is going to happen. 5 years from now, we are not going to be talking about degrees. Degrees are going to be useless. 5 years from now. And I can bet my money on it that they're going to become useless. And it's going to be due to AI. It's going to be due to skills first. It's just going to be due to assessments becoming much more objective, much more scalable. But let's start from the beginning. Let's think about degrees. So how did degrees start? The degree system was introduced in India by the British. The simple thing there was that, can we create clerks who work in the government to run the government the way it should be run by the British? That's where the degree system started. If you think about the 1900s or 1850s, getting into the government was the most stable job ever. Government was the biggest employer. Earlier, what used to happen was that the number of jobs that were there and the number of degrees that were granted, the number of degrees was actually lesser than the number of jobs in the market. And that's why all the jobs were degree hungry. They used to look for people who have degrees, and they were still not able to fulfill their requirements because there weren't enough people who had a degree. So with that supply demand condition, people who had a degree actually ended up making a lot of money. This was maybe 1960s, 1970s. And this is where our parents, our grandparents have grown up. They've grown up in this era where degrees were like, oh, without a degree, there's nothing. There are 9 million graduates in India today. Only 1 million white collar jobs being created every year. So already there is a 1:9, distance.
Disparity. Yeah.
Out of these 1 million also, graduates or 8 to 9 million graduates who are, graduating every single year, roughly 5 to 7% are getting a job, a white collar job, 5 to 7%. That's going to go down massively due to AI. Because what's going to happen is that the first jobs that AI is going to take is going to be fresher jobs.
Entry level.
The entry level jobs. They are going to be the most repeatable jobs. They're going to be the dumbest jobs.
Yeah.
They're going to be the jobs where, you don't require a human in the loop even, because these are just recurring decisions on the basis of certain rules that have been set.
Right.
So this number is going to massively go down. Now, in such an environment where we are seeing that there are so many people that, India is flooded with degrees right now. Everyone has a degree, but nobody has a job. And yet we are talking about degrees. And the other thing that is happening is that when you think about what are degrees important for, I think there are 2 parts to it. Like if you think about getting a job also, one is getting noticed and the other is actually getting chosen, right? Or for degrees, I would say one is a tick mark that yes, you have a degree because it's a requirement. And the other is a degree that can help you get noticed, right? And if you think about it, now whether it's IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, SRCC, whatever, nobody cares about the degree. People care about the college. As soon as there's an SRCC or an IIT Bombay or an IIT Delhi on a resume, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to at least talk to that person.
And why is that so?
Because, because of the criteria with which they are choosing these people. It's not because of what education they are getting. But I know that getting into IIT Bombay is very, very, very hard. It's
True.
probably 0.01% people who are going to get in.
Hmm.
And because of this entire filtration, I know that these people, the chance of finding a really good person who's from IIT Bombay, within IIT Bombay in that group is going to be much higher than in maybe say a tier 4 college which has no filtration at all. So there are a few brands in India in education across PG and UG which give an employer that trust that there has already been some curation that has happened before that kid has gone into that college.
Correct.
And hence it's a good chance that I might find a good kid from there. IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi are some of those names.
Right.
SRCC is there, probably LSR is there, St. Stephens is there. BITS Pilani is there. In PG, there's IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, there's ISB maybe, whatever. But I can, name these brands on like on my fingertips, right? It's not going to be more than that. Now, post this, what happens is that a lot of people feel that, I'm not going to name colleges, but let's take some tier 2 colleges. A lot of people feel that, it's a tier 2 college, it's a known college, so it's a branded college. But it's actually not a branded college. Because the definition of a branded college is anything where a person will look at that name on your resume and stop and say, I at least want to talk to this person. So there are only these 10 colleges which are a brand in itself, right? Others are just a sea of degrees. Like, I don't care if you're from a tier 2 college or a tier 5 college then. What I then care about is I've already ignored the name of your college. Then I'm caring about what is it that you've done before, right? What have you done before? What is the kind of hustle you have kind of put in to get in touch with me?
Yeah.
What are you saying when you get in touch with me? Is your DM well formatted? Are you understanding what Mesa is? Or are you just writing some random messages about what are the kind of problems that I'm facing?
Yeah.
So the game completely changes. And that's why I tell people that don't get stuck somewhere in between. Where you are not, you feel you have a brand, but you don't. You feel you have the skills, but you don't. Either get an insane brand. Maybe the curriculum there will be horrible.
Yeah.
But at least you'll have a really good peer group. These are also 0.01% people. You will get good options into good companies because people will notice you.
Correct.
And these brands will stay with you for the rest of your life. Alumni network will also be strong. Somewhere in between, think about it, right? This is a tier 1+ college where you have gone because somebody had said it's a known college. Curriculum is horrible. Okay, peer group, alumni network is horrible, but it's a known college and that's why it's a brand on your resume. You've gone to this tier 1+ college. You're not getting a brand. Nobody is looking at your resume and going, oh, ye college se hai, to isse maine baat karni chahiye. You're not getting a great curriculum, horrible experience most of the times. Your peer group has not been filtered, so it's bad.
Yeah.
Alumni network does not exist because they probably take a lot of people in volume and churn them out. You're not getting great outcomes because nobody cares about this college at all.
Yeah.
And hence you're stuck somewhere in between. I would rather tell a person that don't do a degree or get a degree online. And there's a very cool thing that has happened in India and I'll probably share it.
Yeah.
But I would rather tell a person, get a degree online and work in your family business, or sit on a shop and do some business, or do an internship on the side, or try to build something of your own, or build a channel. Why would you be stuck somewhere in between? You would, in the latter case, you would also have a degree.
Correct.
But then you would also have this insane experience that people can be like, okay, इसने एक channel बनाया जिसके 1000 subscribers है. 1000 subscriber का channel बनाना is also very tough in YouTube or Instagram. And, especially in undergrad now. And this is something I feel the government has also realized. And UGC is forward looking. What they have started doing is that they've made online degrees which are equivalent to offline degrees available for 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees from the best colleges out there. Now, if you think about it, if you're in Solapur, I don't know why I'm taking that.
Yeah.
The only college that you could go to is Solapur Institute of Technology. Again, it's a made up name. Or Solapur Business College was the only college that you could go to. Now you can get that same degree, the degree that is worth the same on an online mode from an NMIMS. Right? Now, I'm not saying NMIMS is an insane brand, but it's much well known than, say, a Solapur Business College, right?
Yeah.
So you will go for those. And I feel that in the next 5 years, this is why I'm saying that degrees are going to get irrelevant. AI has taken more than 2 lakh jobs away.
In India?
Across the world.
Across the world.
And these are known jobs that are being reported in the newspapers, like 30,000 Oracle, right? Those kind of jobs. I'm talking about 2 lakh jobs. Now, each one of these people who got rejected, who lost their jobs, also had a degree, right? And this is going to happen more and more often. Now with AI coming in, people need to start understanding that whether you have a degree or not is not something that AI cares about. What it cares about is the job you're doing still a job that AI cannot do? And hence there are certain kinds of skills that everyone needs to develop, and these need to be skills that AI inherently, at least right now, does not have. And that's the vision that everyone should be having when it comes to thinking about education or jobs in general.
Now let's take a hypothetical. Okay. 20-year-old guy sitting in a tier 1+ college. He knows his degree doesn't matter. He's very self-aware. He wants to work at a early stage startup. What is the roadmap you will give to him?
Early stage startup. He's already made up that mind. So he's already won, I would say. Because I'll take one step back, right? I think a person who's a 20-year-old who has understood that their degree does not matter and wants to work for an early stage startup is already in the top 5% awareness when it comes to people. I feel that 95% of them are still struggling with, should I go work for an MNC versus should I go work for a startup?
Yeah.
Now, I think whenever you're trying to solve a problem for yourself or anyone else, you have to work backwards from what is it that is happening in the place that you wish to be in. In an early stage startup, you have to put yourself in the mind of what are the problems that people are facing there. What is it that the founder is thinking? Number one, what is happening in an early stage startup is that there are very few people. The number of roles that they are hiring for is not massive. There are massive number of applications that are coming in. So number one, you need to stand out. That's the first step. Now we'll talk about how to stand out.
Yeah.
But first is you need to stand out. Once you've stood out from the pool that is hiring, is applying to get hired, the next thing is to prove to the team that you have what it takes to be successful there. Now, working backwards from what is required to be successful in an early stage startup, it's not skills. If you think about it, it's actually energy, it's attitude, it's mindset, it's the ability to work really hard, it's the ability to own something end to end. Because there are the number of problems that a large company solves and the number of problems that a small startup solves is similar. It's not different. Yeah. It's still similar. It's just that every single person is given ownership of a massive piece. They are expected to start working on it almost like the founder of that piece. So the question keeps on coming that do you have that ownership in you, inbuilt in you? Do you have certain skills like communications? Are you ready to scrub the floor if required, or are you going to complain instead? Those are the kind of things that startups are looking for. Freshers have gotten our attention.
Yeah.
The most common one is a LinkedIn DM to me in which the subject line really appeals to me because it's a real problem that I'm facing.
Example?
And an example of this was that I'll tell you one of our freshers that we hired from DTU, which is Delhi Technology University.
Yeah.
He wrote us an email saying that Mesa needs to tie up with government incubators. And, number one, it was a prescription. He did not say, does Mesa need to? So, confidence. Number two, was it something that we were already thinking about? Yes. We knew that there were going to be a lot of students that are going to be building here at Mesa. We have to make the basic things, amenities that are available for startups made available by the startup, made available by governments, available for these startups, right? So it was a thing that we have been thinking about. And the fact that a fresher could put himself in our shoes, think about Mesa as a problem statement and think backwards to understand what is it that Mesa cares about right now. I mean, I'm already kind of impressed, right? I don't care whether that problem was as pressing. I won't say it was a priority 0 problem, but it at least warranted me speaking to this person. So if you look at the funnel, I get DMs like 100 DMs, 150 DMs every single day. First is, I need to read your DM. So the subject line made me read the DM. So I've already reached the next level. The DM was amazing. It had links. It had a plan. That person had written a 1-pager. Now, I don't care how bad or good the one pager is. I don't care about, this person has thought so structured. Actually, the one pager that the person sent did not make a lot of sense. But I did not care because this person had gone through my website, had gone through what it takes Mesa to be successful, had thought about it at least, had written an entire note about it, had sent something which kind of showed intent, that hunger, that fire, that this is a person sitting on the other side, knowing that Varun receives 150 DMs every day, and there's a very good chance that after me doing all this good work, he's not going to reply to me.
Yeah.
And still, this person has done all of these things. And this warranted me passing on that person's contact to somebody who was interviewing. Right? So now the funnel is subject line mattered. I read the DM, passed it on to somebody who was interviewing. The first conversation is a call, before we set up a call.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that every conversation that you have with a startup matters. Because I'll tell you what, the person that I gave the contact to was sitting right next to me. So as soon as she picks up the call and calls him, I'm going to say, "Kaisa hai? Kaisa tha? Conversation kaisa tha? Communication kaisa hai?" And hence, don't be casual in these conversations. Make sure that you're putting your best foot forward in any conversation that you're having with a startup. When the person who was sitting next to me gave a call to this person, the person was there, yes, ready that, yes, I've sent a message to Varun. This is what I kind of said. When asked for, what are the kind of roles that you're looking for, had answers, had kind of said that I know that these are all the teams that are hiring, had gone through the JD, had kind of said that, this is the role that I'll be good in, but also kind of said at the end of it that I don't care what the role is. I'll just come and do whatever that it takes because I want to be in Mesa, which kind of shows that intent, that shows that fire, that shows that hunger. So I think that is what people need to optimize for. And I'll tell you what, actually speaking, startups love freshers. And they love freshers because they don't need any unlearning. They are ready to scrub the floor.
Yeah.
They are not going to be, ego is not going to be there. This is their first job. They are extremely coachable. They are ready to go all out and are ready to kind of do the work that is required for a startup. The problem is there's a sea of freshers that applies. So your job is to kind of stand out.
So Varun, you have very strong opinions on degrees. Now I want to ask you, how soon are IIMs going to become obsolete?
So I'll tell you what, I've got stronger opinions about the MBA. I feel that if you are 25 years old today or even younger or even older, I would say like anywhere between 20 to 30, I think MBA is the worst career decision that you can take right now. Like MBA is something that nobody should be doing right now. And the numbers are also becoming very, very, very clear. I think there are two things that are happening in India right now is that number of people who used to do an MBA about like 5 years ago was 4 lakh. That number is trending towards 2 lakh now. It's become half the number of people who are doing an MBA. The second is, I think, the quality of people who are applying to IIMs, the real good people are actually not applying because they don't need an MBA. In almost 3 to 4 years of their careers, they've already made it. And an MBA is not going to be able to give them any jump in their lives. So the ones who end up applying for an MBA are the people who could not do anything in the first 3-4 years of their lives. Anyway, coming back, I think another thing that I can put my money on is that in the next 5 years, the MBA is going to die. And
MBA as a degree is going to die.
It's going to die, yes. And I'll tell you what, there is a few nuance to this. I mean, the statement is very sensational. But here's what I would say. If you think about an MBA, just like a degree, the job to be done, the job to be done there is pretty much the same. You're looking for a brand. You're looking for a jump in outcomes. Your salary is increasing. You're getting more exit outcomes. Exit options. You're getting a fantastic peer group. You're getting network. Now, again, if you think about it, will an IIM Ahmedabad keep giving this to you 5 years from now? Yes. Maybe the outcomes when it comes to skills will not be as many, but the brand remains, the alumni network remains, the peer group is still going to be solid because these are the creme de la creme who have been selected from the CAT. Massive curation. So IIM Ahmedabad is probably still going to be relevant, and it's going to be relevant as a brand name due to the curation that it provides to employers later on. Also, institutionally, there are a few firms whose business model depends on hiring people with brands. If you think about a McKinsey, Bain, BCG, the way they get contracts from ITC is by telling them, I've got 5 IIM Ahmedabad grads who I'm going to put on your project, right? So institutionally, they need brands. But they're not going to, like a McKinsey or a Bain is never going to brag about a tier 1 plus MBA saying, यहाँ से मैंने एक MBA grad लाया, वो आपके problem solve कर देगा. Like, so that's not going to work. But if you think about tier 1 plus MBAs, like MBAs after, colleges after IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow ko le lo, Kozhikode ko le lo, Indore ko le lo, the baby IIMs for that matter. Like the baby IIMs when I'm hiring are literally anti-brands for me. I rather would not hire a person from a baby IIM and would rather hire a person who has worked in a startup for 3 years.
Instead of an MBA.
Instead of somebody who has spent the last 2 years learning nothing about the world of startups.
और 1 साल preparation किया.
1 साल career prep किया है. Has forgotten how work happens. I hire that person. उसको 1 साल तो लगेगा to warm up and to actually start contributing to the organization. Because that person is from IIM. It's not any blackie IIM. It's a random IIM. It's still at least going to expect a salary of what 18 to 20 lakhs. Why should I do that? I would rather get a person who's worked in a startup for 3 years, give that person a 15-16 lakh salary. That person comes with no ego, has complete momentum, is younger because that person has not spent 2 years learning nothing. And also it kind of tells me that you're a person who's okay with mediocrity. You did not get IIM Blackies, so you settled for IIM Sambalpur or whatever. I don't want to pick on an IIM, but so it's literally like it doesn't make sense. So when students come to me and tell me that I've gotten into a baby IIM and hence I'm deciding now and I'm going to go to, I'm like, don't fool yourself. Like this is a horrible decision and you would rather not go there and work for a startup and really get the exposure of working really hard, build the right kind of skills, learn AI, work with founders, do sales, talk to customers, rather than just sitting in a classroom in somewhere. What is going to start happening is that the really large companies are going to cut their workforce by 80% because AI agents and AI automations are going to come in. At the same time, AI is going to make it stupidly easy to start new companies. So what is going to happen is that this 10 into 1000 equation is going to become a 1000 into 10 equation, where instead of there being 10 large companies that hire 1000 people each, there are going to be 1000 small companies that hire 10 people each. And now let's think about how does that change the skills landscape. Number one, MBAs are not required because we don't need managers now, because all companies have become, people who, companies which have 30 people, 100 people max, on an average, maybe 10 to 15 people, because all the work is being done by AI agents, and there's a human in the loop who's kind of orchestrating all of the work that AI is kind of doing, right? So the size of companies is going to go massively down. And at the same time, MNCs are not going to be hiring because they are already cutting down on all the fat that they've accumulated by hiring, a million people every single year. So they are going to cut it down slowly and steadily. Oracle can't fire 1 lakh people. I'll tell you what, Oracle could have fired 1 lakh people and their stock price would have only gone higher. I'll tell you about these cuts, about these job cuts. What, worries me a lot is that earlier when Oracle was facing trouble in business, they used to cut people and the stock price used to go up and profits used to go up. And that was fine because, the economy goes up, goes down. When it's down, sometimes people lose jobs. Here, Oracle is growing and is growing actually faster and is cutting people down. So it's not due to, cutting, it's not cutting losses due to which people are being fired. They're being fired just because AI is making them obsolete. Like they don't have a job in the company. And I feel that if people have not woken up due to everything that's happening in the world of MNCs right now, that I don't know what it's going to take for them to understand that jobs are not going to be left in MNCs. So the jobs are going to be in these 1000 new companies that have come up. So the question then becomes that an MBA, is it going to prepare you to become an entrepreneur? Is it going to prepare you to be amongst the first 10 employees in a startup? My simple answer to that is an absolute no. It's not going to prepare you. It's not teaching you the right kind of things. It's not giving you building experiences. It's not helping you network with these people who are starting these companies. It's not helping you kind of understand what it takes to raise money from a VC. It's not telling you how to talk to customers. It's not teaching you sales, which are the exact things that are required. It's literally sitting in you, putting you down in a classroom and asking you to debate a case study on Coke versus Pepsi. Who cares? Nobody cares about Coke versus Pepsi now. It's like 50 years ago that battle happened, and so what? So I feel that the MBA is going to die.
So on that, Varun, my thing is, I'll play devil's advocate, right? The academic outcome is zero, right? But the argument that everyone pro MBA still has is that it gives you access to a network that you otherwise did not have access to.
Correct.
Right? Now, some people are those जो जुगाड़ू होते हैं. They get themselves in the right rooms, they'll talk to the right people, and they will get the same kind of exposure, right? But some people are not. So for these kinds of people who are optimizing for network benefits, do you think MBA still makes sense?
Yeah, again, I'm saying that it's suppose we are solving for a network, right? Think about, I'm not against the top tier MBAs. I'm not against IIM Ahmedabad. I'm not against IIM Bangalore, Calcutta. I think they're going to survive. It's like, Versace surviving, when there is a economic depression.
Yeah.
It's a top tier brand. Maybe, I don't know about fashion, but and that's what is going to happen with IIM Ahmedabad. Like there are going to be a few brands that are always going to stand, like XLRI, SP Gen maybe. I'm talking about the tier 1 plus MBAs. And by the way, these top tier brands, by the way, IIM Ahmedabad se leke, the Blackie MBAs, ISB, XLRI, together probably have like 2,000 open seats. So I'm talking about the people who are not going to get admission into these 2,000 open seats, because there is much more competition for these 2,000 open seats.
And then settling for mediocrity.
Yes, where you're not going to get a network. No founder is going to be even coming on your campus. You're still going to have to hustle. You're still going to have to fight. You're still, by the way, spending 2 years doing nothing. It's a waste of absolute time.
उससे अच्छा किसी छोटी
कंपनी में काम कर लो. And मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है कि in an MBA from one of these tier 1 plus colleges, they are actually teaching you what not to do. They are teaching you strategy. Like strategy does not exist in a small company when you are like 10 people here. You have to pick up the jhadu and start cleaning up the floor.
Yeah.
You have to go to customers, talk to them, start doing sales.
You said on Rajmani's podcast that if someone had the superpower of getting 10 people आपके ऑफिस में कि यहाँ पे बैठा दिया सोफा पे 10 लोग आ गए काम कर रहे हैं ठीक है, you would pay a lot of money for that, right? Now you tell me, what according to Varun Limai are these 10 super people? Like what do they look like? What do they look like? What do they do? What are you looking for in them? What is something that's common across them?
That's what work is all about. So, even when I was on this Raj Shamani podcast, I ended up saying things about degrees. And I said that, so many people who have degrees are unemployed. And people started, and they're right. People are right, by the way. They started saying that, your denominators are not the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. But my point entirely was to motivate people to look beyond the degree. I'm not saying don't take the degree, but don't be happy just with a degree. Go beyond, because it's not going to make sure that you are successful in your life. It's not going to make sure that you have enough wealth creation opportunities. A lot of different levels at which people are. There are freshers, 2+ years work experience, EIRs, people with 10 years work experience. I think there are a few common traits that I look for in each one of them. I'll probably go through each one of them. Let me also kind of revise. I think first thing that I do when I'm talking to a person is the energy. I need the person that I'm working with to be an optimist. जब कुछ फटता है, I don't want this person saying कि देखो मैंने बोला था, या फिर अब क्या करेंगे. This is a person who needs to stand up and say, यार फट गया, let's fix it. Right? And these are people who inherently believe that everything is going to be fine at the end of the day. These are not people who get scared. These people are okay with failure because they know that failure is going to turn to success at some point of time. These are people who don't get bogged down, smile a lot, are chirpy, there is a certain energy, that comes with it. And I'll tell you what, it's very difficult for me to also explain sometimes. But when I interview somebody and I just feel कि यार energy नहीं आया, मुझे vibe नहीं आया, मैं कैसे explain करूँ मैं? But मुझे ऐसा लगा नहीं कि this would be a person that I would want to have right next to me during the worst calamity of my life, right? Because during success, everyone will be fine.
Yeah.
So this optimism, this delusional happiness, or but at the same time not being delusional to say to kind of point out to a failure and say this is actually success. It's a fine line. But this optimism matters a lot to me, and I've actually seen optimistic people don't hide their failures. And the reason why they don't hide their failures is that they know that they are going to convert that failure into a success. I think pessimistic people end up hiding their failures because they are not sure whether they'll actually convert that into a successful venture. So I think one is energy. Second thing is communications. I mean, there's nothing that can replace that. I mean, today's world, AI, I mean, you need to tell AI to do the right kind of things. You need to be able to manage teams. Just the pure joy that you get when you've been in a very tough meeting room where there's a very large problem that needs to be solved. There have been massive different discussions that have happened. There's been a decision that has been taken after people, kind of laying out all the options there. And then you go back to your table and somebody has kind of concisely put it into a one-pager saying, this is what happened during the meeting. We have taken this decision because of these 3 overbearingly positive points that say that this decision is the right decision to take. Because as a founder, I forget things. I forget why I took a certain decision. I don't want to revisit it and spend the same amount of time thinking about ये हम लोग ने क्यों decide किया था. That's just one example. But these are people who can be customer facing, who can represent the organization, which by the way are far and few. It's so difficult to find people who can represent your organization besides you.
ये कैसे ढूंढते हैं फिर?
I think it's communication. It's people who have consistently stood up on stage, been okay with kind of making mistakes, have managed meetings, have made a lot of presentations. Like for example, something that came to mind in our undergraduate program, one of the tenets that has been taken by our director Tariq is that हर week हर बच्चे ने हमारे एक presentation बनाना चाहिए. And I was fighting with him कि यार what is this obsession? And he says, Varun, that's the only way these people will become great communicators. Because great communicators is not just about talking, it's about understanding your audience, understanding where they are coming from, what is it that they need to hear, what is it that they are facing as a very big problem. And the only way to do that is doing it practically. So anyway, I think that's the second part, which is communication. The third thing that matters a lot for me is ownership. Again, it's beaten to death कि यार आपने owner होना चाहिए, आपने owner होना चाहिए. But there's one question that I ask, which is it's a golden question for me. And the question that I ask is that आप मुझे ऐसी एक चीज बताओ which you were not responsible for, but you did it anyway. Like this was not in your scope of work, but you just did it. Because that's what natural owners do. If suppose Grapevine is kind of undergoing a particular problem, I'll tell you one example from my office today. When I entered office today, there were these 2 people from my team who were cleaning up the back desk because it was full of boxes. They don't even sit near it. And I asked them what's happening. It's like, this is so dirty. Now, was this their KPI? No. Why are they doing it? Because they care about Mesa. Because they are natural owners. For them, they are not limited to their jobs. They are limited to, for them, Mesa is them. And I think that is so rare. If you end up finding 10 such people, you will build $1 billion company.
On owners, what I would like to know is, see, some people are owners by nature, right? Some people are groomed owners, right? They come into the org, they are not owners. Then they become owners because they're just so obsessed with the mission or like just something about the work, right? आपको क्या लगता है? Like in Mesa, like what is that split like?
See, I think what happens is that in organizations like Mesa, I think the percentage of people who have become owners is higher. Because they joined Mesa at a stage when nothing was there and suddenly something was there, they consider that they have built it also. In larger organizations, getting owners is much harder.
Right.
It becomes a job where, okay, I'm the CAM for these 200 restaurants in Zomato. I don't care what happens to the 201st restaurant. It's very hard to do that in a very large organization. So the privileges that really small startups have, which I think is a superpower, is that you get more owners in your team. But I would also say that, these people also have, like, I don't know whether ownership can be taught though. Like, I don't know. Like, because for me to go back and think ki a person who's an owner right now, is that person actually an owner or a groomed owner? I don't know. But it's the most insane, thing that you can, it's the biggest superpower that anyone can have. And if suppose freshers today who are watching this can kind of build the capabilities to show ownership, they will get great jobs. And then
कैसे करेगा कोई?
I think, it's also kind of showing that, showing it through certain kind of work that you ended up doing. And again, people feel work means experience, but uske liye to mere ko experience ke liye experience lagta hai. it could be you cleaning up your society. Like,
Hmm.
like there was a fresher that I interviewed recently, and I said, tell me about a time where you showed ownership. Tell me about a time which, you didn't need to do, but you did it anyway. And show me your obsession. Like, what did you do for? And that person spoke for 30 minutes
Hmm.
about how he took on a project to clean up his society. उसने 3 ट्रक को लाया, उसमें से एक ट्रक का गाड़ी में कुछ तो पंचर हो गया, फिर उसने क्या किया, फिर 2 लोग कंप्लेन कर रहे थे इतने ट्रक क्यों लाए, फिर then how did he appease those people, then like, just think about this story, okay? I did not ask him any other question. I hired him instantly. I'm going to put him in a team where he has a lot of, because I know this kid is going to do really well.
Hmm.
I could see the pain on his face, when he was talking. कि मैंने इनसे ऐसा किया. मतलब he was just showing me that the right kind of energy. There are something called behavioral questions. Okay. 90% of hiring in startups happens due to behavioral questions. On the basis of behavioral questions. They will ask you, tell me about a time where you have interacted with a customer. Tell me about a time where you showed bias for action. Have your stories ready. Follow the simple star format, उसको बोलते हैं, situation, task, action, result, learning, star. उसको follow करो, build up your stories. Be ready for this. I think, behavioral questions, everyone is horrible at. When I interview a lot of people, they are horrible at it. I ask them this question, tell me about a time you interacted with the customer blank. They're not following a structure. They've not thought about this question before. I'm like, yeah, this is the most common question that you're going to be asked in any startup. Like, come ready for it. Right? So I would say that behavioral questions are probably they're going to become the norm of interviewing as AI comes in.
Let's look at your top 5 behavioral questions that you ask in interviews.
I think one is this. Tell me about a time you did something without you, being the
Told
owner
to do
for
so.
it
Yeah.
or being responsible for it. One I ask is, tell me about your biggest failure. How did you handle it? Very important. And I want to understand, like, what is the biggest failure? And during that time, I usually look for pain. Pain is very important, by the way. If you want, like, pain comes only when you are an owner. Otherwise, it doesn't come. It's like, ho gaya. Another question that I ask is, tell me about a time where you spoke to a customer, convinced a customer, took feedback from a customer, handled a customer. मतलब customer के साथ आपने in the past कुछ बात की है क्या? Tell me about a time where there was a disagreement in a team. How did you kind of deal with it? Tell me about a time where somebody told you not to do something but you still did it. And then why did you do it? How did you handle the other person who had told you not to do it? So I think these are like a few questions. You come up with these questions on the spot also, but they're so important in kind of understanding where is it that person is coming from.
Have you learned something about hiring over time? आप पहले कुछ और सोचते थे,
Yes.
then you learned something.
100%. I think earlier what used to happen was that I used to try to optimize a lot. Like, I would do multiple interviews, would spend 2 hours. I think it's a law of diminishing returns. Aapko first half an hour mein, the decision that you take and the decision that you take 2 hours later can be as right and as wrong. It's such a subjective thing that you might have somebody who does a great interview but then comes on job and is not able to perform, and vice versa. And that's why it ties up to our earlier thing that if you get rejected, like, don't consider it to be the be all and end all, because everyone makes mistakes here. Like, I can say right now that the best people who hire in the world, I don't know who they are, will still be wrong 50% of the time.
Visibility.
Yeah.
Does it matter in a startup?
100%.
And that plays into the way you get your appraisal.
It matters everywhere.
It matters everywhere.
And that's where I think startups are better. For people who know that they will perform well. Because यहाँ पे तुम्हें visibility मिल ही जाएगी, क्योंकि हमारा ऑफिस ही छोटा सा ही है. अगर 30 जन का ऑफिस है तो दिखने ही वाला है कौन क्या काम कर रहा है. You can't hide in a startup. So people who know that they're good should end up working in a startup. Because there you will get visibility, you will also perform, you will grow at a 30% year on year. Our best performers, and I think in every startup, grow at a 30%. Which is insane. Like, you've not heard of that in like any MNC. MNC 5-10% max. And there also what happens is that, number one, there are a lot of structures. This person has just been hired. This person has been hired from this school. So this school के लिए appraisal इतना हो सकता है. And there what happens is that visibility somehow, it also gets diluted. Because for you to probably get a really good appraisal, you need visibility in multiple people.
Stakeholders.
And also getting visibility in a MNC is so hard. Like, because of the structures that exist, you will probably never meet your boss's boss.
Yeah.
Here you're sitting having beer with that person.
Yeah.
Right? So visibility always matters. And that's why I feel that people who are really good should work in a startup. They'll grow very fast because visibility is by default.
Now let's look at a person growing, right? Do you think salary is a good proxy for growth?
When you say grow, you mean
career-wise, like you're growing in your career?
I think salary is a good proxy, and the reason why it means that that's the nominal value, that's the minimum nominal value that you're adding to your company. Ki whenever somebody is hiring you at a 50 lakh, then the founder is at least feeling कि यार ये 50 लाख का तो value लाएगा. And that's why it's career growth, because that means that is the value that you can add to the firm minimum. Actually, you should be doing much more. You should be adding 1 crore, 2 crore, 10 crore, whatever. But yeah, I think it kind of signals that there are people who are ready to kind of pay you that. But again, you know, I see a lot of resumes where people have moved around a lot. And that's like a no-no to me, because you can always kind of work for 6 months, renegotiate a salary, 6 months, renegotiate a salary. And in the short term, it works. But my advice to everyone is, if you want long-term growth, stick around. Stick around for 3 years, 2 years minimum. Spend a lot of deep time. I think 2 or 3 things start happening there. One is people start trusting you more. Number 2, eventually, later on, your career growth gets amplified massively. For example, if you suppose 3 years, if suppose there's a person who's a fresher who's joined a company and has worked for 3 years, grown only 10%. There's another fresher who has moved every single year and hence grown 20%. Now both of them are interviewing with me. If suppose they are, you know, both of them are good and I give them a jump, to the person who has moved every single year from the previous salary, that I'm going to try and give that person 10-15% jump max, because I'm like, listen, I can't trust you. I'm taking a bet on you that you will be here. ये सब कुछ hiring process करने के बाद तू यहाँ पे 1 साल के बाद रहेगा, मुझे नहीं पता.
चला जाएगा.
On the other hand, I'm going to be like, yeah, this person is a keeper. इसको दो 30% और लाओ, इसको ये अगले 3 साल के लिए value add करेगा. And that happens throughout your career then. So later on, dependability matters much more than skills sometimes. And that's why I tell freshers here, don't move too fast. Unless and until you are like, you're not enjoying your job, that's a different thing altogether. Don't do it for salary. It's like first 3 years, it gives you dividends. Then it's horrible for your career. It's the worst thing that can happen. I'll tell you what, in a meeting room, if I am saying something and if nobody says anything against me, I hate it. That means I've hired the wrong people. You know, and I you know, very recently we hired one person, again, 3-4 years work experience. It was her 3rd day. And, you know, I was sitting down with the program team and I was saying something. And she raised her hand and she told me, Varun, just respectfully, I feel you're not making any sense. And I just looked at the senior person who was in the room, and then she went on to explain what her point of view was. And it was fair what she was saying. But I just, like, I was like, you know, this is a perfect hire. Because this is a person who doesn't care about things like, oh, how people are looking at me. Just cares about adding value. Right? And that's when I realized that I don't need to be in that meeting anymore. This woman is going to handle things. And she's going to call out bullshit and she's going to try to solve for what is the most important thing, which is the problem. So whenever you're with a senior person, don't do either. You know, there are also people who disagree with you to impress you. No, I disagree. Why? No answer. Right? There are also people who say yes to everything. Don't be either. Like, have your own mind. Founders have hired you to have your own mind.
Correct.
They've not hired you ki, you know, varna founder khud hi kaam kar lenge.
Now these people, would you frown upon them having a side hustle like Mesa employees?
I would hate Mesa employees have a side hustle if they are not already, you know, if they are already not being able to deliver or give their 100% to the job. Right? But here's the thing. I would love people in general having a side hustle along with the work that they're doing at Mesa, because what it shows is, number one, these are people who are able to manage their time. They are also able to keep themselves very fresh on the Mesa job, because that's not the only thing that they're thinking about. Correct. They have got something else also to tinker around with. Number 3, I think it also boosts innovation, because if you're thinking about one thing again and again and again and again, then you're going to get bored with it. So I would actually love that every single Mesa person has a side hustle. But what that would mean is that these people would need to be going above and beyond and be delivering on the KPI that is being given to them. And if we have hired well, then I know that owners who are not already delivering what they are supposed to deliver will not be able to sleep, let alone have a side hustle, unless they've delivered on what is required. So yeah, I think I actually would love to encourage Mesa employees to have a side hustle because that essentially shows that you're doing your job really well and have something else to look forward to on the side.
Okay, Varun, important question.
Yeah.
तो मैंने एक रील देखा था आप पे एंड उस पे काफ़ी हेट वाला था आपको एंड आई वांट टू नो योर रिएक्शन टू इट. ठीक है, ये वाला रील है, आपने शायद देखा होगा.
Oh.
भाई कोई आदमी अगर मार्केट में आपको ये कह रहा है ना कि डिग्री लेने का कोई फायदा नहीं है, तो समझ जाना या तो वो बहुत ही बड़ा गधा है या फिर भैया उसका कोई पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट है. जैसे कि ये भैया, इन पे मैं ऑलरेडी एक वीडियो बना चुका हूँ, जाके देख लेना. इनका नाम है वरुण, मैसा स्कूल के को-फाउंडर है. भाई इन्होंने पॉडकास्ट पे बैठ के ये एस्टैब्लिश करने की कोशिश करी कि जितनी ज्यादा डिग्री आपके पास होगी उतना आप अनएम्प्लॉयड होगे. अब इनका दोगलापन उतारू. जब मैंने जाके इनका लिंक्डइन चेक करा ना तो देखा इनका फाउंडर खुद IIT का है. ठीक है, बाकी इनकी टीम देखो जरा, ये लेडी श्रीराम कॉलेज, लेडी श्रीराम कॉलेज, लेडी श्रीराम कॉलेज, ये IIT रुड़की, सारी डिग्री वाले लोग भरे पड़े हैं. भाई से पूछो तेरे पे है कोई बंदा बिना डिग्री का? लिखा हुआ है बड़े अच्छे से, हायरिंग रॉक स्टार सिर्फ डिग्री वाले मिल पा रहे हैं. मतलब इस आदमी ने एक बारी को भी ये नहीं सोचा कि भाई मेरी कोई जिम्मेदारी बनती भी है, मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ. उसके बाद ये वीडियो वायरल हो गई. सिर्फ ये वीडियो वायरल नहीं हुई, 50 अलग अलग पेजों ने ये वीडियो डाल दी अपने में, वो सारी वायरल हो गई हैं. और हम इनको जितना मर्जी कॉल आउट कर ले, हमारी इस तरीके की वीडियो चलती नहीं और इनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आप सबसे रिक्वेस्ट है भाई प्लीज वीडियो को ज्यादा से ज्यादा शेयर कर देना. और दूसरा भाई, डिग्री की अट्टर इंपॉर्टेंस है. चाहे आप कंटेंट बना रहे हो, चाहे आप बिजनेस कर रहे हो या फिर आप जॉब कर रहे हो, तीनों में मैं कहोगे तो उस पर भी वीडियो अलग से बना दूंगा. बाकी कल फिर मिलता हूँ. जय माता दी.
Yeah, he made 2 such reels.
Yeah.
So this one and there's another one also.
Yeah, but like let's have you react to the first one.
Yeah, I know what he's going to be saying because I've seen the reel. I think 2 things here, right? I think one is what he's saying is not wrong. We've got a lot of people who are from pedigreed colleges, and I tell you why. People also need to be practical about the kind of business school that we are building. It's a new business school which is not UGC accredited. So the people who have built it, those signals matter a lot. So and the only signal that works without you actually being present in front of parents and students is your pedigree. Now, when I'm talking about pedigree, I have not just hired my team from some degree college, which is what I was saying in the Raj Shamani podcast. I've hired them from Harvard, Wharton, ISB, from SRCC, and so on and so forth. My entire, fight and battle is with degrees that don't give you a brand. They are not an SRCC. They are not an Harvard. Okay. They are some tier 2 college that nobody knows about, that nobody cares about, that nobody even, just the way this person has kind of spoken about ki Harvard se, SRCC se, they have not spoken about another person jo NMIMS se. Right? They have not spoken about NMIMS. They have not spoken about Symbiosis. They have not spoken about Christ. हमारी कितनी सारी टीम तो वहाँ से आती है. जब बच्चे और पेरेंट्स ऐसे डिग्रीज के लिए जाते हैं और फिर सोचते हैं कि वो ब्रांड है, तब मुझे उससे दिक्कत होती है. क्योंकि as soon as people think they have a brand, they start working towards skills. And due to that, people become complacent.
They have comfort.
They feel कि मेरे पास डिग्री है, मैं कुछ नहीं करूँगा. So I feel that if there are a lot of youngsters who are following this gentleman, then he should be more cautious. Because he might be telling one person today, young person today, कि go get a degree from some altu-faltu college and don't worry about anything. Whereas what he should be saying is that either go into a great college, like go to a Harvard, SRCC, or if you're going to a faltu college, don't stop at it. Get the right kind of skills. So that would be my response.
Awesome. So we'll get to the last part of the podcast. So Varun Limai here will review some resumes that we have curated from TAL.
Okay.
We noticed that you're hiring for a program manager. You always are. So we got together some resumes that are good fits, bad fits, everything. And like, we'll have you review every one of those resumes.
The green flag is that it's a well-structured resume. I like the structure of the resume. When it comes to hiring specifically for Mesa, so this person has done an MBA in finance from 20 to 22 and has then worked in private equity and has worked as an investment associate at Sporos Capital. So see, I think first is the red flag that comes to my mind is that this person has not worked in a execution role. It's mostly been private equity consulting and then investment associate in I'm supposing a private equity fund. That makes me very nervous. Number two, another red flag is that person has never worked in a startup. Forget about execution, not worked in a startup before. So I'm not sure whether this person comes in will be able to work in a startup. The third is, the green flag is, working in private equity and Sporus Capital and doing an MBA in finance. It seems as if this person is good with numbers. And numbers are always like a positive, like being able to think in numbers always makes a person analytical, sometimes even much more structured in their thinking. But I would say I would not go ahead with this resume because of the red flags that I have. And, NMIMS education, MBA finance, and then Bain and Company and an investment associate in a private equity fund with just 4 years of experience, no startup, no exposure to building something from scratch, this person will be asking for a lot of money. For the value that he's going to bring, it's not going to be enough.
Awesome. That's a pass.
It's a pass, yeah. Okay, next one is working at Scapia, Chief of Staff to the CEO. Okay, McKinsey and Company has worked there from Jan 23 to March 24th. एजुकेशन इज पर्ड्यू यूनिवर्सिटी में यूजी किया है इसने. 19 में ग्रेजुएट हुआ. 19 के बाद अच्छा मैकेंजी इन कंपनी में ही रहा है फ्रॉम Feb 20 टू March 24th and grew to a junior engagement manager without an MBA and then is chief of staff to the CEO. यार इससे मिलवा दो. कौन है ये?
ठाल का पहला हायर.
And I know the Scapia founder, but internship experiences are also really strong. So yeah, I would say that this looks like a resume that I would definitely want to talk to the person. The reason being that the green flag is working in a chief of staff role in a startup. The person has 100% taken a pay cut from being a junior engagement manager to a chief of staff in Scapia. That means he's gotten a lot of ESOPs and cash में उसने pay cut लिया होगा. ऐसा मेरा understanding है. And a person who is ready to do that post consulting is a massive green flag, and I would be a person that I would want to have a conversation with. The other thing also is that if this person would have been directly from McKinsey and Company, I would have been very skeptical because of two reasons. One is उनकी salary बहुत high रहेगी and I don't know whether they will survive in a startup. But the fact that this person has worked in chief of staff to the CEO, another green flag is that I can do a ref check directly with the CEO here. Because this person is working with the CEO, this person applies, then I can quickly do a ref check to understand is this person good. ऐसा कुछ red flag मेरे को इसमें दिखा नहीं यार. I think this is pretty good. Except the fact that there's no name written. I don't know whether you guys...
यार वो तो हमने anonymize किया है.
अच्छा. Third resume, program manager, education, 2018 graduate, BITS Pilani. Then after that, worked with 2018 में graduate हुआ, did not work for 3 years because 2021 was his first job. Maybe he worked as, maybe he tried UPSC. So number one is during the interview, I would want to ask him कि यार what is this gap? कि 2018 में graduate करके why did you start employment in April of 2021?
And UPSC you will take as a valid...
Yeah, UPSC is fine. I mean, the person should have that, should be able to explain why he spent like 3 years doing that, should have that level of maturity that usually UPSC candidates do have. Assistant program manager, देखो यहाँ पे ना, one very good thing is that plan and create annual and quarterly revenue targets. So wonderful, whenever anyone says annual revenue, like revenue targets, it's always a positive that the person has worked on revenue side targets. That means the person has interacted with customers, has done sales, and has worked in an environment which is going to be stressful because it's going to be target oriented. Again, program manager 21 to 23. So this was 1.5 years. Then the next one was also 1.5 years. And now Jan 2025, it's been 1.5 years. So yeah, I think my biggest red flag here is going to be this guy is like moving jobs. This person is moving jobs 1.5 years. And I'm not seeing a lot of massive growth. The kind of roles that this person has been doing in Upgrad, Cars24, Zepto has not been drastically different. It's been demand and inventory planning. It's been planning and implementation. Program management in Cars24 was also very similar. I would say that is a red flag. But given that this person has worked for 3 different startups, I would at least interview this person. But the chance of this person converting is going to be hard. Like he's going to have to do, or she's going to have to do something incredible for this person to get an offer.
Hmm.
Is what I would say. So this won't be a pass, but I would say that I would have this person talk to somebody else first before this person comes to me. Like the Scapia person, I would talk to directly, right? But this one, I would have like 2 or 3 interviews before they reach me.
Awesome. That brings us to the end of the podcast.
Yes, this was awesome.
Let's go.
I love Tal. Was this a part of the plan? This should definitely be in the podcast.
Careful.
Tal gir gaya.
Tal gir gaya.
And I'll tell you what. When you looked here with a blank face, now I was sure that Shambhavi is doing this.
So, at least ye bolo. Time
Because
up,
she's done
kuch-
that to me also so many times. I'm talking
What is
to-
this?
Buddy, no. You got some reels?